history of almost 100 years. All the Republicans have done it. They have now joined us. I didn't have to join and do the wrong things. They have joined. They're doing the right thing. We have nearly 100 Democrats doing this. So we've changed the grassroots. I have not twisted one arm. I will ask a few people, but I'm just not made up to go and do the routine lobbying, because most of the lobbying for bills is, if you vote for this, do this, and I'll give you this. You know, it's a trade-off. And so the grassroots really made all the difference. So you can see that if the whole country would wake up on all the issues, and we sort of are, I think that people are waking up on Obama's medical care, and let's hope we're successful there and tone that down a little bit. And trade, you know, the trade bill, cap and trade, that's been held up a little bit. These are monstrous pieces of legislation, and it will precipitate a much worse recession if these things get passed. So I look at this not as a political problem. From the very beginning, the first running to talk about monetary issues, to me it's an educational issue, is getting people to believe that limited government, free markets and property rights, that is the way you take care of people. And we as conservatives and libertarians and constitutionalists, I can't understand why we lose the moral argument. But it happens. We are seen as people who don't care. Oh yeah, you just voted against increasing food stamps from 100 billion to 200 billion. Oh, you don't care about the poor people. Well, it turns out that the more you subsidize something, the more you get. So if you subsidize people who aren't being taken care of either by themselves or their neighbors or their churches, if you subsidize it, you're going to get a lot more. And of course, that's how welfare has grown to be out of control. So if we approach it more philosophically, I think that is ultimately the answer. But people have to understand that interventionism, the Keynesian economic policies, doesn't help people. It's not just a punishment of the rich, is what they like to paint it for. It's the punishment of the poor. Inflation wipes out the middle class. And the other day we had one of the members of the Federal Reserve Board talking about consumer protection. You know, you need a new agency to protect the consumer against all these things. So I went into this and I said, you know, the best thing you could do is have sound money. I said, if you have unsound money, the first thing you do is you lower interest rates to 1%. So what if you're on retirement, you have some CDs, and the market says you should make 5%. But because of the government coming in and says, oh no, the businessmen, the bankers need 1%, you're cheating. Who are you cheating? You're cheating the people who save money. At the same time, who do you cheat when you lose the value of the currency? You cheat the average, the middle class. Right now, today, there's a policy in Mexico, because they've been going through this so many times. If you don't want to get stung again with the peso going to zero, you can put your money in a silver account. And all we need to do here is not close the Fed down tomorrow, but just legalize freedom. Legalize our option to deal in a competing currency, and the computers can take care of all the calculations minute to minute. We trade currencies on the international markets all the time, and there's never a problem. But somebody tries it and they go to jail and they get their gold and silver confiscated. They don't want any, the monopoly is on the government. So, but eventually though, what we have to do is convince people that Keynes was absolutely wrong, that the Austrian economists like Mises and Hayek and Rothbard are exactly right, and if you care about poor people, if you care about the middle class, you have to endorse this. And that right now we have the opportunity, because I talk to them all the time, and I said, you know, you had all these housing programs, all this affirmative action. Who's losing their houses? The poor people. They're the ones who are getting dumped out of their houses. And what about the mortgage companies, the insurance companies, and people like Goldman Sachs? Who's bailing them out? The people who survived and saved money. The companies, the car companies that ran their companies differently, they get taxed to take care of somebody else because of the process. So it's you know, it's just a system that is doomed to fail. It is failing. So instead of being despondent, say it's an opportunity to present our case for the free market. Now, why is this so strange? It's American. That's what used to happen in America. You know, we had very limited federal government. We used to have gold as a currency. We used to not be the policemen of the world. I don't think we can address any of this thing as long as we think we have to be the policemen of the world. And I think this is probably the biggest issue and the greatest challenge in the Republican Party. The Republican Party is not doing well. I don't know if you noticed. But they're not doing well, and it reminds me of the first year I ran. It was 1974. I wasn't elected then, but I ran. That was Watergate year. And when I was elected the year later, there were still only 145 Republicans in the Congress. And now, I don't know, I think Republicans would probably pick up a few seats, but psychologically, we're not a whole lot better off than it was in 1974. But the question is why aren't the Republicans doing a little bit better? Well, I meet a lot of people. I talk to a lot, and I see them come into my office all the time. And guess which groups come the most? The college kids. In high school kids, 15 to 25 is where the great enthusiasm is, and they like what the Campaign for Liberty is doing. They like what I've been saying, and yet it's not what the Republican Party's been saying. The Republican Party right now, the place where they hurt the most, guess what? It's between 15 and 25. The future generation of people moving in to take over, they are the most turned off to the Republican Party. Part of it is the fact that they lost credibility because we had our chance. We had the House and the Senate and the presidency. We were supposed to cut back on the size of the government. We were supposed to balance the budget. In the year 2000, we said Clinton was a warmonger. He was in Serbia and he was in Somalia, and we didn't need policing the world, and we didn't need to be the involved in these internal affairs. And we did it even more. And likewise, Obama comes along, he takes the Republican speeches of the year 2000, he comes across as saying, I'm going to have a more sensible foreign policy. He gets elected. Now he's making the policies even worse. And I don't think the American people want it. I don't think the Republican Party should support it. Besides, you can't afford it. And it's all going to come at an end. All great nations have come to an end because of overextension overseas. So the argument should be easily made that we do need money. We do need money in this country. We can't get rid of all the programs we might consider unconstitutional, and I don't even pretend to do that. Matter of fact, I don't even pretend to say that the correct thing to do right now is close down the Fed tomorrow. But you've got to legalize the competition. But we have a lot of people dependent on government programs, whether it's the poor getting some medical care or the elderly that have adapted to the government taking care of them. But we're still running out of money, and Medicare is totally bankrupt, but we're still spending $1 trillion a year overseas. And we're making our defenses even diminished. We're under greater threat because of this. And just think, why don't we cut some of that? Why don't we cut, I could easily find $100 billion to cut. What if we cut $100 billion, put $50 billion to the deficit, put $50 billion in to taking care of only the people that have really been, victimized by the system, and tie them on and take care of them. I mean, it would be such a powerful signal. It would mean that we would not be badgering every country in the world what to do. Right now we are being told that we have to really, really get tough with the Iranians. The Iranians can't even make gasoline for themselves. And they're trying to tell us they're about ready to invade us and send a nuclear weapon over here. They don't have it. Saddam Hussein didn't have it, and yet, just think of all the killing and all the expenses going on, and our troops are not going to leave Iraq. There are more being sent to Afghanistan. We're spreading a war into Pakistan. Now we want to take on Iran. When we get back in September, you wait and see there's going to be a resolution to come down really hard on the people, on the average citizen of Iran, because we're going to cut off their gasoline supply. And the argument goes this way. Well, if we get the people so upset because they have no gasoline, they're all going to throw out the Ayatollah. It doesn't work that way. It unifies them against the enemy. just as we became rightfully unified on 9/11. We weren't Republicans or Democrats. We hated